The energy of the soap opera of the stars for the fifth week of October is all about support. I'm an intuitive coach, and this is my energy report for the 26th of October to the 1st of November. For anyone who's celebrating Diwali, a very happy Diwali to you. It's great that the energy support comes at Diwali time, because although it's a lot of fun, it's also a lot of stuff to be done. So enjoy the energy of support. So just to let you know, my guides who channel these energy reports through me, they identify themselves as samsara. They are a group of beings that I see as this, very fast moving sort of being. I don't really see them clearly. They're a bit hazy, but that's because they move really quickly. And they say that they come from beyond Pluto. I do not know what exists beyond Pluto, so I would not like to say any more than that, but just that they say that they come from a space in our universe that is beyond Pluto. Now, before I channel these messages from my guides, I do the research on the astrology and the human design, and it really helps me piece together what I see in the astrology and human design, and then what the guides are talking about in terms of the energy that is being brought about because the planets are transiting and aspecting each other, and the signs that they're transiting through, and because of the human design gates that they are going through. Sorry, my throat seems to be really bad all of a sudden, but I hope it stays with me through this recording, and I may have to I apologize for the discomfort caused by the fact that I'm coughing. Okay, so let's begin. The guides are referring to three key energies this week that denote the support we need in the journey ahead. So the first are the natural rhythms and cycles within us. The guides are saying that it is impossible to leave behind structures of control without also leaving behind the regimentation of your time. So if you look at structures of control, it's one size fits all. So if offices open at 9 o'clock, everybody has to be in office at 9 or 8 or 7 or, whatever time they open. Now, what of people who like to sleep at night? Wake up at night and work, and sleep during the day. So those people only have limited opportunity. Or, people who may not sleep that late at night but like to start their day a little later because they just need that sort of time to get up and running, right? When this regimented structure exists, you have other people dictating how you need to use your time. And what the guides are saying is that trust-based systems cannot have that sort of regimentation, and the breakup of control-based systems can therefore only happen when each one of us says, okay, no more. And when there is enough of this momentum on the planet, then obviously it impacts the systems themselves. We're seeing a little bit of that, especially since COVID and the whole work from home. But of course, there's a long path for us to cross. And what the guides are basically saying is that this is important because every human being has a different internal cycle around rest, around play, around focus, and around effort. So it's important to look at that. They're talking about rest and play, focus, and effort, right? So, and why focus and effort is different is because focus is when you've got your mind completely engrossed in something, and effort is when you're taking action based on what you have come to the conclusion about, that you need to take action for. Also rest and play, where rest is where you are completely shut down and allowing that body to recharge, and play is where you are creative, you are enjoying yourself. So you may still be focused and you still may be making an effort, but it is an area that lights you up because it's a hobby, it's just something that allows you to relax in a different way. And then there's a different way where you completely shut down and go to sleep, or find other ways to rest. So it's interesting to me that they should use rest, play, focus, and effort, where some of these words seem like the same, or they seem, but they're actually very different. And it's important to understand that difference that this brings about. So, what the guides are saying is that rhythms are not just about discipline, they are about flow. And it is important to get in touch with your internal rhythm. So, basically, the rhythm you follow should be effortless. You should be in touch. I mean, should is a terrible word, but what they mean is ideally, you are in touch with your body, you're in touch with how, the day unfolds for you, how the night unfolds for you. You know when you feel good about waking up, when you feel good about sleeping, how much of that you need, when you feel good about being creative, being connected with other people, how much of that you need. How much time you need to focus and get really engrossed in work, and then to act. So basically, this whole cycle of our day-to-day life needs to be one of effortless flow, and not one which is regimented by, oh, this is the time and that is the time. And frankly, this is something that I struggle with, because I'm always thinking, well, if I wake up at 6 o'clock in the morning, then I can get this done and that done. And I'm really being taught that it's not about when you wake up in the morning, it's that you have these practices and routines, and whenever you wake up in the morning, you are able to do those practices and routines. And similarly, just before you sleep at night. And it's an ongoing cycle, but not necessarily restricted by a certain clock or certain alarms. Not easy, especially because my work is our work is dependent on other people. We have to align with their clocks and schedules, so on and so forth. So of course, this is, but as much as possible, if you can align yourself with your own natural rhythms, if you know your rhythms, if you can follow your intuition, then at least you know when that stop is a hard stop, for example. So it's a work in progress, but this is what the guides are saying is important this week for us to understand, because this gives us the support that we need to have the energy to do what lights us up. So what they are saying is that they are once more directing you to the plethora of apps that are available to help you with tracking your cycles and understanding them. Frankly, when they say this, I think they're making a joke. But the truth is, there are a plethora of apps and devices that help you do this. So they're saying make use of technology. Perhaps that's what they're saying. Make use of the technology you have to give you an insight about yourself. And the 3 key cycles that they are talking about are sleep, energy, and introspection. So remember this: sleep, energy, and introspection. If you can find the best times in the day for each of these cycles, then you can enhance your productivity and the effortlessness that is built into a benevolent universe. I love that. So the universe is benevolent, there's an effortlessness built into it. You are the perfect design for the purpose that you have to fulfill on this planet. And therefore, once you get in touch with what makes it more flowy for you, you then, I suppose, also get more aligned with your purpose, or at least you feel more effortless, you're more connected within you, and therefore you know how you want to interact with the world, what is, how you want to, do you want to continue to adhere to rhythms that are provided, or do you want to set up your own rhythms? Because the guides are saying that as long as you continue to rhythms that are informed to you as the best for all, you will be fighting an uphill battle that will lead to burnout and frustration, which is a very real problem for a lot of us today. So let's move on to the second energy. The guides are saying that the second energy this week is about tapping into your internal skills and resources and allowing the feeling of support to come from within you. Again, easier said than done. But if the energy is helping us do this, then this is a good week to really think about this. What are the skills and resources within you that help you feel supported? So, human design says that you are designed to perform the purpose you are here on this planet for. Therefore, your design is perfect. The shadows, the light, the conditioning, the opportunities to decondition are all perfectly aligned for you to do the work you have come to do. You are enough. You do not have to have anybody else's skills. Your skills are enough. Your limitations are exactly what is needed for you to fulfill your purpose. Okay? So you have in you all that you need, therefore. And when you're lit up about what you're doing, these skills and resources become your friends. So the question is not, can you do it? The question is, what do you love to do? And how are you uniquely structured to do it? Now, for example, you may have, 1 million people who all love to knit, right? But the design, each of them is going to creating the same design for each one of them. It is about expressing themselves through this particular art form that they love, which is knitting. Okay, so that's how I read this. And it really is important to look at what are the skills and resources that you have come with. A lot of times our shadows help us understand our gifts. So your shadows are also important in this whole exploration. And that is what is going to help you understand how to align with your purpose and how to, what is it that you love and how are you uniquely structured for it. So the third energy this week is that of patterns, especially patterns in relationships. Now, you need other people to work with you, whether that's one person, a few, or many, given the social nature of human beings. So you need others to work with for your dreams to truly be born, take root, and thrive. You also need other people, just in terms of the relationships you have with them, right? So now, you, however, have been in patterns around relationships, some of which have served you and some of which have not. It is time to take stock of that which has served you and that which has not, and devise a strategy for yourself to work with people based on these patterns, both the ones you wish to break out of and the ones that have served you. So, there isn't really much to say about this. I think it's quite self-explanatory. But I think what is interesting to me in this is that they are saying that look at where you work well with someone. What are those patterns? And therefore, how can you bring more and more of that or those people into your life? Secondly, look at where you don't work well with someone. What is going on there? What are those patterns? What do they cause? And what is your strategy to work with people with those patterns, because sometimes you can't avoid it in your workspace, in your family, in your friendship circles, etc. Sometimes you just cannot avoid people whose personalities do not sort of gel with yours. And the guides are saying that look at both. Okay, so that's the only thing that I want to say I feel is important from this particular, is very important to note over and above what the guides have already said. Okay, so they are saying when you are clear about what you want to take forward in your life, you can draw the line or create the boundaries you need. Being able to do this creates unshakable faith within you that you can manage the slippery slopes of relationships with others. This trust in yourself allows you to identify those that you can lean on, those that you can transact with, and those that cannot work with your design. The guides want you to know that the energy this week allows you to identify what you need for each of these support systems to be activated. So they request you to explore and pay attention. So the first support is understanding our rhythms and cycles within so that we move into more effortlessness in life. The second is to understand how are we uniquely designed, what is it we love to do, what is it we bring to the table in terms of our skills, and what is it that we bring to the table in terms of our shadows that help us to understand our gifts. So what are those skills and resources that are unique to you and that will help you bring your purpose into reality. The third is to look at your relationships. What works, what doesn't work, what are the patterns, what strategies do you need to devise and implement so that things work smoother. So, three areas to look at. And now let us look at what this means for each sign. So basically, for each sign, we're going to look at what do they need to look at in terms of their natural rhythms, what do they need to look at in terms of the skills they have, what area do they need to look at in terms of relationships that need to have, either an allowance or boundaries. Okay, so now to look at this for the signs, you need to look at your astrological chart, or you can connect with me and I'll provide you your top 3 signs. Now, I use whole sign houses and Western astrology, but as I said, when the guides channel, I'm not sure what astrology to call it, but when I'm looking at a report, I'm looking at it from what I've understood from Western astrology. And please take what resonates. Recently, I have been listening to some evolutionary astrology forecasts and podcasts, and I found that a lot of what the guides say is quite connected to that. So I know that these are all different streams of astrology, and therefore I don't want to confuse anyone, because this is not an astrology report per se. This is a report that is informed by astrology and human design, and yet, your signs does give you an idea of the theme that this is showing up, that is showing up for your life. Okay, so the first is your rising sign. This is about you, your body, mind, and soul. The question to ask is, what is going on in my life? Second, your sun sign. This is your career, themes related to your father figures. The question to ask is, what is influencing my career or significant masculine relationships? Your moon sign is your emotional space, your mother and mother figures. So the question to ask is, what is influencing my emotions or significant feminine relationships? Ideally, look at all 3 signs to give you a complete picture. But if you can only look at your rising sign, that will help you as well. Okay, so let's start with Aries, rising sun and moon. The clue to identifying your natural rhythms is to look at your approach to spirituality and growth as a person, and can you follow the same rhythms in other aspects of your life? So basically, Aries, you need to look at what do you do as a spiritual practice? Do you have a spiritual practice? What do you think of when you think of having a spiritual practice? Or if it is not a spiritual practice, then maybe it is something that you do to expand, to grow, to learn further, to educate yourself better. Or in this case, it could even be that, do you have certain cycles and rhythms that help you when you travel long distance? And how do those, whether it's your spiritual life, whether it is your expansion and growth as a person, educating yourself, or whether it is travel to foreign countries, what is it about your rhythms that allow you to do this with effortlessness? Okay, and how can you apply those very rhythms to the rest of your life, in order to make things easier and more effortless for you? So what is the difference when you do all of these things and when you're doing other things like maybe moving your body or dietary, care, or, when you're sleeping or when you're being creative? So apply it to, if you remember, they spoke about rest and play, focus and effort. So, your rhythms in this area, how do they apply to rest, play, focus and effort? Okay, so to understand your inner resources and your patterns in relationship, look at how you approach partnerships, shared resources, debt, big business, your sexual exploration, and karmic connections. Excuse me. So the second and third theme for you, Aries, where it comes to skills and resources, and when it comes to, the patterns, the relationships that have worked and not worked, you need to look at what have your partnerships been? What are, how do you share resources? How do you feel about shared resources? What is the role that debt plays in your life? If you are in big business, then what are the patterns there? Or what are the skills you've developed there that will now help you fulfill your purpose? Or maybe you're already fulfilling your purpose and you're happy, so on and so forth. Okay, so I know I'm repeating myself a little bit, but just to support you in understanding what's going on here. Okay, so for Taurus rising sun and moon, the clue to identifying your natural rhythms is to look at your approach to partnerships, shared resources, debt, big business, sexual exploration, and karmic connection. So because the houses move, like we're going, Aries is house number 1, Taurus is house number 2, and the two houses that we're looking at for these three energies are together. So, the second energy in one zodiac sign may be the first energy in the other zodiac sign. So I'm not repeating myself. In fact, if I don't do this for one sign, then you need to let me know because I've skipped something. But yeah, so for Taurus, the same area where Aries is looking at their relationships and their skills, you need to look at what are your rhythms there. So when you're in partnership, what are your rhythms there? What do you do to keep that partnership going? Same with shared resources. What you put in place in order to make sure that you have a system around those shared resources. What do you do when you're in debt? What do you focus on? What do you make an effort around? How do you rest? Do you play at all? Right? What do you do when all of that is happening? So it's a whole theme, and for different Taurians, it could be different, which is why I mentioned all of them, right? Similarly, in your sexual explorations, right? And this is not the romantic expression. This is more about kinks and fantasies and that sort of sexual exploration. What are the rhythms there that you put in place? When you find or when you resonate with a person and you feel that you have a karmic connection, what changes there? And now, when you look at how you become as a person, how do you look at rest, play, focus, and effort as a person when you are in these situations? Then you can understand how to look at the rest of your life in case, there's a little less, in case there is more effortlessness that needs to be brought in to the rest of your life. And in case the rhythms you follow here can help you understand that. Okay, so to understand your inner resources and your patterns in relationships, look at how you approach close associations, the balancing of other needs with yours, marriage and negotiation. So for you Taurians, it's very important to look at your needs versus the other, how you balance these things, what skills and resources are available to you, how do you act on those when you're single, how do you act on those when you are in a relationship, is there a difference? And similarly, what are these patterns in relationships? What are the kinds of relationships, close associations that you just cannot have showing up in your life anymore because they either trigger you or they create a trauma bond or, whatever else. And therefore, what are the kind of relationships that you could have? Or if you have those relationships and you can't get out of them, then what do you need to do to manage them? Okay? So Gemini rising sun and moon, the clue to identifying your natural rhythms is to look at your approach to close associations, the balancing of others' needs with yours, marriage and negotiations. And can you follow the same rhythms that you learn in other aspects of your life? So the rhythms that the guide spoke about were focus and effort, play and rest. And when you have to understand your inner resources, so that's the second support available this week, and your patterns in relationships, you need to look at how you approach health, routines, daily work tasks, and duties. Okay? So that will help you identify, your approach to health, routines, for example. What does that say to you about the skills and resources that you have as a person? And, what are the boundaries you set around health and routines daily work tasks and duties that you don't set otherwise with people. So, or what are the patterns that have caused you sabotage, in these areas where maybe you don't set boundaries on this and it's created a problem. So, that's the way you need to look at this. Now, it's important to note that we're talking about the support available to you. And the guides are saying that the three forms of support available to you are your rhythms, your resources, and your patterns in relationships. So, when you look at these themes in life, you need to look at, where did I feel supported? Where didn't I feel supported? How do I extend this support to other areas of my life? What are the decisions I can make? How can I look at the rest of my life differently now that I've understood how these aspects in this part of my life supports me? Okay, I hope this explains. Otherwise, please ask me. I'd be happy to help you understand it better. The thing for me is that when the guides download it, I understand it and I'm able to write out this report and I'm able to express it in their language, but it may not necessarily be language that, is resonating with you. I mean, it should, given that the guides have downloaded it, but sometimes it feels a bit confusing, and I'm happy to help you navigate this. So Cancer, rising sun and moon, or to say that I have no clue what they're saying if it comes to that, but I hope not. So for Cancer, rising sun and moon, the clue to identifying your natural rhythms is to look at your approach to health, routines, daily work tasks and duties as a person. So how much sleep do you get before you can start working? How do you look at play around your work life? How do you look at spending time in introspection around your work life? These are the things that you need to look at. And once you see that, how you are different when it comes to these areas of your life, then how can you apply that to the other areas of your life, and what happens there? So for you to understand your inner resources and your patterns in relationships, you need to look at how you approach creativity, romance, play, and children. For Leo, rising sun and moon, the clue to identifying your natural rhythms is to look at your approach to creativity, romance, play, and children. Can you follow the same rhythms in other aspects of your life? To understand your inner resources and your patterns in relationship, look at how you approach family, ancestral karma, roots, mother and maternal figures. So what are the patterns there that you can't deal with anymore? What are the patterns there that really work for you? How are you as a person, because you are able to handle this aspect of your life? Okay? And therefore, how can you use those skills to do something that lights you up? So these are the three areas where you can find what is within you that supports you in those areas and how you can use that support for other areas in your life. For Virgo, rising sun and moon, the clue to identifying your natural rhythms is to look at your approach to family, ancestral karma, roots, mother, maternal figures, and can you follow the same rhythms in other aspects of your life? To understand your inner resources and your patterns in relationships, look at how you approach your immediate living environment, siblings, your self-expression and communication. For Libra, rising sun and moon, the clue to identifying your natural rhythms is to look at your approach to the immediate living environment, your self-expression and communication, and can you follow the same rhythms in other aspects of your life? And it's really interesting because for me, in my living environment, everything has a place, everything needs to be in its place. I like a clutter-free environment, even though I'm not always the best at decluttering. But, I do get really unhappy with a lot of clutter. I like to keep things simple. I like to have, regimented times for someone who will come in and clean up and leave. I like a structure around this cleaning up so that, I don't get confused. And it's been really interesting for me to see how I can apply this same sort of, like for example, when the cleaning of my house is done, I have a general cleaning that happens every day, but then I have a schedule, literally a calendar for the deep cleaning. And I give just, and I, and I always focus on just a little part of the house for that deep cleaning to happen. It's not like, one day we go berserk. I like to do it every day, a little bit, so that, I can keep a track and I can also check that that space is actually clean. Now, I need to apply that in routines around my health. Maybe I just need to attack that, a 20-minute walk or a 20-minute swim and not look at it from 1 hour in the gym, for example. Or similarly, I have to put these little habits in place so that I can get to bed on time, so that I do the things I love to do in the morning. And I am working with that. And it is definitely helping me with all that I need to fit into my day. So this really resonates for me in terms of how, the energy that is happening in this aspect of my chart, the Sagittarius aspect of my chart. Okay, so now to understand your so Libra rising, let's get back to that. To understand your inner resources and your patterns in relationships, look at how you approach your finances, self-worth, and values. So what are the skills you have developed around managing your finances, or what are the skills you really need to develop around managing your finances? How is this connected with how you value yourself? And what is it that you can use from here to fulfill your purpose? Okay. The other thing is that, when you are in a relationship, what are you looking at in terms of finances? What do you do about your own finances? How do you look at the shared resources? Because if this is happening in the Scorpio area of my chart as a Libra rising, then the opposite, which is the Taurus area of my chart, is the 8th house, which is all about shared resources. So it sort of connects, right? So you need to look at, what are these, how you approach your finances, self-worth, and values, because those also give you interesting clues into how to create boundaries. What are the relationships that work with you? What are the relationships that don't work for you? Okay, so Scorpio, rising sun and moon, the clue to identifying your natural rhythms is to look at your approach to finances, self-worth, and values. Can you follow the same rhythms in other aspects of your life? And to understand your inner resources and your patterns in relationships, look at how you approach your personality, your appearance, and the balance of your needs with those of others. For Sagittarius, rising sun and moon, the clue to identifying your natural rhythms is to look at your approach to personality, appearance, the balance of your needs with those of others. Now, can you follow the same rhythms in other aspects of your life? To understand your inner resources and your patterns in relationships, you need to look at how you approach your subconscious fears and insecurities and your patterns of self-sabotage. So these are the 3 areas where you will find support this week. For Capricorn, rising sun and moon, the clue to identifying your natural rhythms is to look at your approach to subconscious fears and insecurities, your patterns of self-sabotage. Can you follow the same rhythms in other aspects of your life? And to understand your inner resources and your patterns in relationships, look at how you approach your network, social life, and your contribution to society. For Aquarius, rising sun and moon, the clue to identifying your natural rhythms is to look at your approach to network, social life, and your contribution to society. Can you follow the same rhythms in other aspects of your life? To understand your inner resources and your patterns in relationships, look at how you approach your career and status. For Pisces, rising sun and moon, the clue to identifying your natural rhythms is to look at your approach to career and status. Can you follow the same rhythms in other aspects of your life? To understand your inner resources and your patterns in relationships, look at how you approach your spiritual beliefs and your need to expand. So if this makes sense, if this resonates, do let me know. If you have any questions, let me know those as well. I'm happy to share further with you. Also, it will really help me understand how to work on this content better, for you to understand it better. Of course, there are people who follow this content and week on week they wait for these episodes to drop so that they can listen to it either here, watch it either here on YouTube, or listen to it on Spotify, or they read it on Medium, where in Medium I don't give you all of this information. You can just read it through as the guides have downloaded it. So yes, if it does resonate with you, do let me know. If there's anything else that you would like me to add to these reports, do let me know. You can book individual sessions with me, whether it is to read your energy, to connect you to the guides, your guides, for example, whether it is to do an astrology and human design reading. I'm available for all of those. I also do clearing of physical spaces, land, property that needs to be sold, offices where the environment is a little difficult, homes where you feel that there's the presence of other entities, etc. So I also do those physical spaces. I also help with relationships that are not doing so well. And there's also something called an alignment frequency that I run, which you don't need to be face to face with me. The person whom we need to run this for doesn't have to be face to face with me. They don't even have to know sometimes. And that alignment frequency releases all energetic vampires, curses, blocks, entities, anything that is impacting their behavior, psychology, things like that. Of course, there are no guarantees to how they will behave once that clearing is done, but it has been very effective for all of that. It also helps with people who have health issues, especially when those are autoimmune. Okay, the other thing is that you can connect with me for a report. I provide reports which look at your purpose, and they look at not just why you are here, what your quest is, but they also look at how this lifetime fits into the timeline of lifetimes for you. They also look at what is specific for you to clear, as well as work towards or contribute in this lifetime. So you get a very clear sort of navigational compass. And what this also helps with is, what the reports also help with is to understand that from 0 to 90 years, literally each year, what are your emotions, what are your themes that come up that impact your purpose or take you closer to your purpose or create challenges that you need to resolve, and they also give you very specific healing methodologies or steps that help you clear the energy of previous years, so that in the cycle that happens, because there's a 27-year cycle, the next time that particular energy comes up, it's easier for you to manage. So do get in touch with me if that is something that resonates with you. The purpose report is the basic report, but we also add on things like love, career, financial life, spiritual life, physical health. And a lot of people have started taking decisions based on those reports and have found it very beneficial to them. The other thing that I do is something called embodiment sessions. So here I connect you with the ideal version of yourself. I help you download the qualities that will help you understand the gap between where you are now and where you want to be. And then I help you with an energetic practice that enables you to connect with this ideal version of you. So we set up 3 goals. We work on this for 6 months. We have a session every 2 weeks where we keep you accountable. By the first or second month, I help you hear what this ideal version of you is advising you, and I help you ensure that you are in the flow of following their advice so that you reach where you wish to reach. So connect with me for any of these or to have a chat, and I would be happy to connect with you. Thank you for listening to this report, and I'll see you next week.